Like, remember how they used to say that whenever you were nervous and performing, you just pretend that everybody puts on their pants the same way you do?
Yep.
And now
it works.
Putting on pants so
now
hard.
It works. Now it's true. Now it's true, Lynn. It's true.
I think we're probably live. Let me go check on this.
You got it. Is this a Zoom application?
Yes, from Zoom to Facebook Live.
Cool.
Yeah, eventually I'll go on YouTube and Spotify. But right now we're lucky that it's doing this if I'm at the wheel.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
We're on Facebook Live now, Sandy. You guys.
Good morning. Happy Sunday.
We got the
We're drinking our coffee.
Yes. Sandy Ehlers is here. Oh my gosh, she's the best. I met her in New York through Gladys Simon and all her people. Oh my God. She tears up a room when she's on stage, you guys. She's so authentic and in the moment. She can do her material and feel the crowd and work with them and go right back to her. She's a pro, okay? So here we are, and this is her intro. Look how humble she is. Let's just talk about two things. She says, okay, she's been doing comedy more than 17 years, so you better respect her. She's from Hoboken, New Jersey. Yeah, there's good people from there. She does a one-woman show. She's working on it. We got to hear when that's going to be available for us to go watch and support her. It's called Brassy, Sassy, Gassy. That's her one-woman show. And every morning, Monday through Friday, that is, you can see Sandy Ehlers on Facebook Live like I do, doing Sandy Talk morning. Did I get that right?
Sandy Talk, yep.
Sandy Talk. Yes, awesome. Welcome to Comic Spot, Sandy freaking Ehlers. Oh my God.
Thank
Sandy
you.
Ehlers. How do you pronounce your last name? Ehlers or Ehlers?
Ehlers, like ale. It's good, but it doesn't matter what you call me. You know what? You were kind in the intro. You didn't say I was batshit crazy, because that's where the authenticity comes from, right? When you're a nut and you get on stage and you don't care anymore. So, but good morning, sweethearts. Good to see your face. I know we've been trying to do this for quite a while, but I'm glad it's finally happening today. I happened to get up. I had a good day. I don't hate anybody. So I said, let's do this.
It's a good day when you get up in the morning and don't hate anybody.
Yeah, that lasts another hour, but you're getting me you're getting it at that window, 9 to 10, where I'm not annoyed yet.
Like one day I was so depressed and I wrote this as a joke, but it's really true. I was so depressed, I turned on the news to cheer me up.
Oof. Yeah, I've been writing these weirdo statuses on Facebook where I'm saying, well, tonight I watched The Shining to cheer me up. Tonight I watched Halloween to cheer me up, because, right, we've been in such a nightmare that, you watch some of these movies now and they don't seem so bad.
Yes. Well, who was that was in the scary Linda Blair where her head spun around and
oh yeah. I remember seeing that, I remember, because remember, I was born and raised in Hoboken, and then my mother was like, oh, she didn't really give a shit what I did. She did, but to an extent, she didn't want me to go out and get raped. But if I went to a movie, because she had me watching Whatever Happened to Baby Jane and all those crazy movies when I was 8, you know what I mean? When I should have been watching Bambi. So I went to go see The Exorcist with my friends, and she did that thing, the spin. And I was like, it didn't faze me. I must have been living a nightmare at that age, because that didn't even bother me. I thought all the hype was like, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. But then, later on in life, you're watching things like Breaking Bad and Ozark, and you're like, well, now that's gory, right? You're watching that shit and you're like, okay, now that's gore. The Halloween movies are nothing.
Even like when they came out with, what is that, The Mask, or where that one where Drew Barrymore died right away. What was the name of that one? Where they all had masks just recently, like in the last 20 years.
I'm trying to, not what I know what you did last summer, right? Was it that or Who's in the House?
Some movie where somebody died in the first minutes at the movie. Anyway, that was
You know,
scary.
I'm just honestly, since The Exorcist, I'm not a fan of horror. I just, now that I'm living it, I watch it now to give myself. I remember I was on a date with a boyfriend of mine, and this guy and I went out for 5 years, and we were in the movie theater. My cousin and her husband, boyfriend were there at the time, and me and my boyfriend, and we split up because they wanted to go see The Shining. And of course, asshole here wanted to go see Fame, the 1980 version, right? So,
Yes.
so I only got to see The Shining, like, now because, what the heck? Let's give it a shot.
I've watched some of your morning talk, Sandy Talk in the morning, Sandy Talk on Facebook Live, listened to a little, and I've gathered from it that you were a real fan of Broadway growing up. Have I got that right?
Yes, yeah. You know what? I didn't mean to be. It wasn't like I got there, but I just, you're in the room, you're by yourself. My sister was older. She's 15 years older. So by the time I was 7, my sister was married. By the time I was 8, I was an aunt. So I was in the house by myself, with my mom, of course. And I, had a lot of, I had with those albums, my mother would indulge me and stuff. And then at some point she'd break the album over my head. But I would like, anything that was on Broadway, I had the album, and I was kind of like that Gilda Radner character, the one up when she's upstairs, she's up in the attic and she's acting all crazy and living out this whole, that was me growing up. So the Sandy Talk show, I talk about a lot of that, a lot of entertainment and a lot of things that I did growing up, like stupid stuff, like, I would get the Sears wish book, and I would cut out the heads of the people in the Sears. Once Christmas was over, because I looked at that book for 6 months, like this, with what I wanted for Christmas. And then January, I cut out the heads and I taped them to the wall, and I thought I was Johnny Carson. So my mother's like, the plane's coming off the wall, Marty. She was calling my, so it was terrible. But that's how that's how you get your craft. You don't realize it that when you're young, that these things are embedded in you. So, I guess that's what happened. But I am big fan of Broadway, big fan of comedy, big fan of you.
I'm a big fan of you. I met you at Tierney's because Helene Witt and Robin Siegel Lakin said, come on, we're going to go and watch Sandy. And I got there, and you were around the corner at the bar, and you were the headliner, and I was baby comic, really. And I was like, my heart was beating to meet a headliner in New Jersey. I'm from Oregon. And you were so nice. And then you got up there on stage, and there had been good comics before you, but they left a little bit in that room for you, and you tore up the entire room.
Thank you. Thank you. I found a picture from that night that I still have of me, you, Helene, and Robin. We took a girl selfie because it was such a pleasure to meet you. I mean, when you got to New York, everybody wanted to help you because you were so kind and you have a good heart. And you know what? You know what? It's never too late to do things. And, you started later like I did. I was 43. And you know what? Now I'm 60, and I'm glad I did it. It's one thing I did that I'm proud. Like if I die tomorrow, I go up there and say, hey, guess what, God? I fucking made people laugh. I'm cursing on your podcast. I made people laugh, God. So maybe I'll get in, like, even if I sit in the waiting room for a while,
Yes. So if you got to the pearly gates and St. Peter said, you get in only if you can make me laugh, what one joke would you tell him to make him laugh?
I'd say, give me 5 minutes, Peter. He's like, give me 3 minutes. I'm like, Peter, not for nothing, but you're a man. Even an egg takes 2 minutes. Come on, let's move it, Peter. Let's go. And he'd say, I tell him, you're Italian? And he's like, yeah, I'm half Italian, half German. I go, all right, half German. I lose an inch with you, but let's go in for the team. And you know what? You do what you got to do. It's funny. I saw a quote the other day that said, I'm from Jersey. So when I'm telling you, you're telling me your story. If once I say, wow, that's wild, 3 times, then you got to wrap it up because you know what? I get 30 seconds to make someone laugh. When I'm talking to you, come on, quick, within 30 seconds, let me know your whole life. But then again, my friends told me that I'm very long-winded. So I'm trying to cut back because I never get to the point myself. When I'm doing comedy, I know I got to get to the point, but in real life, I never, when they call me up, they're like, well, what are you trying to say? And I'll go round and around. I'm like, I'm trying to tell you you're an asshole, but I was doing it the nice way. Now I'm going to tell you you're an asshole. Anyway.
Keep talking. Who needs to do an interview? I just let you go.
Yeah, but I speak too much. But anyway, so yeah, you know what? I'm very proud of the show, Linda, because the Sandy Talk show, I was calling it Coffee Talk, and then I realized this wonderful comedian Robin Shaw has a show called Coffee Talk, and I was 2 or 3 weeks in, and I'm like, oh shit. Robin could have called me on it, but she never did because she's just this wonderful person. So I changed the name inadvertently to Sandy Talk. But you know what? Robin's show is hilarious. Robin's show, Coffee Talk. I don't usually spotlight other comedians when it's my time to shine, but she does crazy things and she does it short and sweet. And she's on YouTube and like she's doing a lot better than I am marketing herself. But I'm staying with the Sandy Talk and I'm back at work now, but I'm still doing it. Like I'm trying. It's 8:30 in the morning and it's a nice table of people. And Linda, I'm thinking now probably the people I have that are fans and friends that have come to the table, at least 50. It's at least 50. So it's something.
That is something else. That's great. I get like maybe 1 or 2 people watching.
God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you. I get a few people watching and most of them come and look at it later.
Yeah, I have that too now because people are back to work. But like for the longest time, you know, people would get up in the morning and our lives are so different. So there I was on the screen talking about life, talking about what my issues were, what struggles I was going through and what things I mastered or, you know, like any kind of success I had in anything from buying a bell, you know, because I do trivia or to, you know, landing an N95 mask. So I tried to do different things and I spoke a lot of about spiritual things and I read people's palms. I did their tarot cards. We did trivia, word of the day. You know, I told some stories that were kind of like sad that I probably would have said in the one woman show. They were true stories, you know, some inspirational stuff. I did quotes. And I want to keep it going because people feel like it's making a difference. They get up in the morning. We're not talking politics. We're not talking about things that could set off your friggin' fireworks. Okay. We got enough of anger in the world. We have enough people that get up in the morning and feel like, you know, they're not good enough. And the show kind of brings you into this table where we say, listen, we're only human. And here we are. And we're doing the best we can. Let's turn around, pat ourselves on the back for yesterday, and then let's start again today.
I love that. I have enjoyed watching you. I will sit there before you eat. You have a stool in your hallway there.
Yeah, it's right here. Because I'm in 500 square feet. There's not much I could do, you know. I danced yesterday because I was in a good mood. I danced from here to the couch. I'm like, where am I going? But this is the area because I have a counter and I was able to put my phone here and you know my lighting sucks and I don't have an audio guy and a video and of course Facebook with the music they're threatening to you know come and kill me and take me to Facebook jail and there's always issues but you just want to get the message out. You want to get the message out that you know what, no one is alone during this time.
Yes. Now I got a text message from Helene Witt yesterday telling me that Sandy was dancing and she's such a good dancer. So even though I missed it, I had to go watch it because I got word you were dancing and you're a good dancer. I've seen you a little bit dance, but you really danced.
Well, you know what? I had a gig yesterday. It was an outdoor gig. It was a shower for about 25, 30 people in Skillman, New Jersey. And I got this gig. I had to bring my own equipment now because we're doing our own equipment now because we're not sharing anything, any microphones and whatnot. So I got this gig and I showered and got all dressed up. And, you know, I always play that song by Earth, Wind and Fire, September, because there's always something a comic does to get them in the groove, you know? Jerry Seinfeld, you said he listens to Frank Sinatra. You know what I mean? Wow. So, and then you get people like, I forgot who it was. Garth Brooks says he listens to Billy Joel. So everybody's got something. So I love that song. I got into my dance and then I said, all right, let me get in the car and go. And then I got to unload the equipment because there's this stress when you have a gig, you just want to disappear. So I did the dance just to kind of like, you know, show you, hey, I showered today. I had a reason to get up because sometimes I'm stuck on the couch, Linda. Some days I'll go 3 days. If I'm off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I won't leave the couch because life just knocks you down. It knocks you down. And like everybody else, I don't get up every day and dance. But that yesterday I did. I wanted to share it with the world. I didn't care about my fat ass.
What is the best thing you've seen out of humanity in New York City during the COVID? The best.
Well, New York has been resilient. It's been resilient. I mean, we have people in our vicinity where we work on West 4th Street that have become homeless since COVID, and they're on the street corners, and I would give them a sandwich and whatnot. And one day I was giving the homeless guy a sandwich, and he was eating like shrimp and lobster. And I'm like, if I find out you have a cell phone, we're dating. Okay. Because that means you have a bill and a house. Okay. Because we've taken care of others. And that's the important thing. And New Yorkers, when they opened up the dining outside, I mean, the dining outside looked nice, but if you stuck your elbow out, you got hit with a truck. I mean, you're in the street, and you're in the street with everything that's in the street, So New Yorkers, just the resilience of New Yorkers and the humanity of people during this time and how they help each other. And New Yorkers, Linda, I always said about New Yorkers, they'll stab you if you piss them off because they're very high energy and they don't take shit from anyone. They'll stab you, but then they'll donate blood to make sure you don't die. You know what I mean? So New Yorkers, I'm proud to be from Hoboken and be that gruffy type that when people see me, they don't know if they like me or not. That's okay. You could take your fucking time because I'm thinking the same thing about you. I'm thinking the same thing about you, and I don't suffer fools gladly. And New Yorkers, they kind of pick and choose what they're going to put their energy to. And COVID really knocked them out, and they got up again and again and again.
Yes. They've been getting up and knocking it out of the park every time something hits them.
Yep. I mean, 9/11, everybody says, well, 9/11, these men that had died afterwards because they said that the air was clear. Remember, they asked the governor of New Jersey at the time. She was the environmentalist, and she said, in charge of environment, she goes, the air's clear, and everybody died, right? Can I tell you something, Linda? If that air wasn't clear, those men still would have went in there and got their friends. Those men still would have risked their lives. That's why there's no big hoopla about it, because they just wanted to clean up their city and find their friends. They didn't care if at the end of the day they would die too. That's how brave I feel New York is.
Yes, that's the spirit of New York.
It sure is.
Every year when they have the ball drop in Times Square, I'm reminded of the heartbeat of our country is New York.
Yep. And you knew, like, when you came here, like when you came to New York, where did you come from?
Portland, Oregon.
Okay. And everybody opened your arms, and people would they probably told you, oh, good luck in New York there. And then you meet somebody like Gladys Simon, who's like mama comedy. Okay. She's mama comedy, like, like all in one little capsule of 5'2", whatever she is. And she took care of you and took you under your wings and made sure you met the right people. And that's who Gladys is, that's the type of soul she is, the light that she, emanates. She's fabulous. And sometimes you come to New York and maybe a Gladys is all you need to know.
Yes, I was so blessed, and she allowed me to come there and be myself and believed in my comedy, whatever amoeba stage I was in.
And when I first started, she said to me, she goes, you're going to do good things great things because I believe in you. And some days, like when I communicate with Gladys, like, are you going to come over? Because she'll ask me to come over. You're going to come to the strip? Come on. Yeah. And then she'll say, I believe in you. And I say to myself, Gladys, who knows comedy so well, if she thinks I'm somewhat funny, that to me is like the highest compliment that I could receive from a person, from a human walking around, to tell me that they think I'm funny and they know what funny is. So that's amazing to me. That's absolutely amazing to me. One time, I have to tell you this story. I was at this pub up the street here last summer, and there was a guy at the bar who lived like a local guy, you know, and you could see he was ragged. He had the gray hair, and apparently when I spoke to the people at the bar, they said that he was the first booking agent for Johnny Carson when Johnny Carson when he was stationed in New York City. And he was an old guy, he was like 80 something. And his name was Red. And I went up to Red and I said to him, oh my God, you know, I love Johnny Carson. I can't believe it. And what happened with Red was when Johnny moved over to Hollywood, to LA with the show, he said, come on, Red, I want you to come. He was the talent coordinator, no less. And I said to him, I said, why didn't you go? He goes, you know what? He goes, I'm just a small city guy. I didn't mind going into the city, but my life, my wife, and my kids were here in North Bergen. And I just said no. And he stayed in TV and in production for many years. And he said Johnny called him all the time. And it took a while for Johnny to adjust out there because he was a Nebraska guy, you know, and stuff. And I said to him, I asked him about the talent. I go, would you have put me on? He goes, in a heartbeat, honey, in a heartbeat. But I thought that was funny. But he said like certain people had to audition and then certain people didn't have to, like it was a given. Like he had to put on Bob Hope because that's who he wanted to put on. But Bob Hope wasn't always a great interview. Like Johnny struggled with Bob Hope. And I'm watching the other night, he was on with Bob Hope and you could see that it was hard for him. Meanwhile, if he had a Bette Midler on or a Robert Blake, who, you know, later on they said he killed his wife, or, you know, he was fabulous with these guys, okay? But he struggled with Bob Hope. And the guy was telling me that Bob Hope was a gimme. He didn't have to audition. But some people, like a very young Carlin had to, or, you know, Steve Martin. Sometimes Steve Martin did some flighty things. And then Steve Martin would be booked by the person that was taking Johnny's place and not Johnny, because Johnny wouldn't have booked him. So he wanted to give him the spot, but he didn't want to give it to him himself. Isn't that hilarious?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So he had these conversations with Johnny when Johnny was in the West Coast and he was in North Bergen, and he shared them with me. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it was the best happy hour I've ever been to. I took a picture with us.
Oh, I want to see that sometime.
Yes, yeah. So that's
His
a cute
name
little
was
story.
Red, huh?
Yep. And of course his red hair is gray now. But he showed me a picture of himself with Johnny and stuff, and hilarious. But anyway, so that's that story.
I love that. My mother passed away in a Jewish nursing home in Portland, Oregon. And then
Recently or recently?
Long ago in 2007. Okay. And so, no, 2002. And so after she passed, I wanted to get rid of some harbored feelings and kind of make them right, because there had been distance between us for off and on. And so I went to the nursing home and told them I'm now doing comedy. This was like in 2014. And I went there. And so I'm in this room where they do all these Jewish services that I don't have a clue, because I was only half Jewish. And I don't have a clue. I just say I'm half Jewish. You know, it's my participation trophy. And so I go there and I'm doing my comedy, which is, they wanted me to do a whole hour, Sandy, and I couldn't even do 2 minutes at a mic. So every week I'd go to this place and do a whole hour. And I thought that this is so painful and so hard. And it was such horrible stuff when I look back. But those people loved it. And I could have done the same thing week after week. Well, anyway, this lady comes up to me. She has her great big computer in her hand, and she's hobbling over to me after I do an hour. And I said, hi. And she says, this is a video of my husband. And I said, oh, I'm sorry you lost him. She said, no, he's in the room deleting emails right now. This is a video of my husband on Johnny Carson. And I can't find the video. I put it on Facebook years ago. And so she plays it. Her husband did the lighting for Johnny Carson for like 15 years. And his last night there, Johnny brought him over to sit on the chair. And he was going to be moving to my city to live in that nursing home.
Wow. So you know what that is, Linda? That's a sign. That's a sign that you're on the right path. You see, sometimes when we do stuff, I think, like we don't realize that we're on the right path, and we're scared. And like you said, you had some karma that you had to deal with that nursing home. But you were meant to get that sign, from Johnny where, hey, guess what? You're on the right. Sometimes I find that, when you get on the right path and it's wobbly, you'll see these little pods of stones, and stuff that you step and you step and you step. And in between is the water, but there's always someone to help you. And I feel like that's a sign. Didn't you feel like that? This is a sign. How would you have met this guy from Carson? We grew up with this guy. You know what I mean? He was the gold standard, I mean, come on. He had maybe 3 writers. Jimmy Fallon's got 25, working night and day. Jay Leno did a 45-minute dialogue every friggin' night, never gave any comedian stage time ever. And Johnny Carson, he did 5 minutes of good material with 10 jokes. Okay. And he gave so much back to the comedy industry, where he got us Ellen DeGeneres and these women like Roseanne Barr early on. He had them on there, Drew Carey and Ray well, not Ray Romano, but Jerry Seinfeld, Robin Williams. He opened the door to so many people, and he didn't mind sitting back and letting them shine. And a lot of these other talk show hosts, they don't have that anymore. Like it's about them. And I get it, but I haven't watched. He went off, I think, in 91, 92. Me and my mother cried our eyes out. And Letterman came close. Remember when Letterman had Sonny and Cher on? He reunited them. It was wonderful. Sonny and Cher were reunited after years. I'll send you the clip. And he was on David Letterman. And it was sketchy because like they weren't really that close, that friendly, but he made them get up and sing, "I Got You, Babe." And then they got up and it got very emotional. Sonny was like in tears, and you could see Cher pretty much wilting like after that song. And then she was kidding. She goes, "I didn't feel anything." But it was great that he did that, because a few years later, Sonny was killed in the skiing accident. So I think Letterman did a lot of that. And then also Carson would fax him jokes. Carson, when he was retired, when something happened, he would fax Letterman jokes to do top 10 jokes. So, so yeah, the history, I just love the history of comedy. Listen, it's what we do, Linda, and we can't get anywhere going forward if we don't study what's behind us.
That's right. Listen to Sandy. Like these people that get out and do comedy, and you go up to them and go, you sound so much like George Carlin or Woody Allen, or and they're like, who? And like,
yep.
You got.
It's so funny when I first started, and everybody, who is it? Somebody else still says it. They go, "If I close my eyes, you sound like Joy Behar." But in the beginning, I was thinner, so they were like, "You remind me of Joy Behar. You remind me of Joy Behar." When I was on The View, Joy Behar's like, "Well, you're like a mini me," because I did sound a lot like her, and I'm like, I'm not. It's not like I'm not purposely trying to be like, you know what I mean? Like I think you're a mentor, but I'm not. I'm not trying to imitate you, but I just happen to sound like her. Then I got later on, it's like, you sound a little like Roseanne in her early days. You sound like Rosie O'Donnell in the early days. And then somebody said to me, well, you said Lisa Lampanelli. And I'm like, wow, I'm really that crass, because she's like really out there. And then finally, the last person I worked with that said to me, I reminded them of Toady Fields. Remember Toady Fields?
Yeah.
And I'm like, am I getting bigger? What's happening here? I feel like the people you're comparing, what's next? Mama Cass? I'm going to be Mama Cass next time? Like what's going on here? Am I going to be like, oh, you're that girl in the 600-pound life? What's happening? I started off with Joy Behar. She was at least my goal weight, or my birth weight, I'll say. But then little by little, the people were getting heavier and heavier. And Toady, no offense, towards the end, she had no one leg and she was in a wheelchair. So I don't know.
It's hard to keep the same amount of weight and lose a leg, don't you think?
I would think so. Right now, I did a show. When I did my show yesterday, the girl was so thin. She was so beautiful. This beautiful girl, Kelly. I said, Kelly, do you know you're the size of my left leg? And if I took my left leg out right now, just sort it off my body and put it on a scale, it would still weigh more than you. I don't understand how people are that, thin and beautiful. But listen, along with all of this comes that brassiness, comes that ballsiness, that comes that anger and that frustration that every day, Linda, we just try to be better than the day before.
That's it. Every day. And like staying, stay humble, because like whatever good that happened yesterday isn't today.
Yep.
So how are you gonna
Yep.
go around thinking you're better than anybody?
Yep. When I first started, I mean, not everybody was kind to me, but there was that one guy, there was one guy sitting up on a high stool in Boston Comedy Club, and he's like, I just don't find you funny, and I'll never find you funny. And I'll remember that he said that to me. He's not my Facebook friend. He's not considered a mentor. He's done things. He didn't get a sitcom. He might have been on Last Comic Standing for a bleep, but he was nasty and he was arrogant. And he said that to me when I was starting off, and I could have easily gotten the taxi and gone home and never come back, right? But for him, for every guy that did that, which was only one, there were like 100 that gave me a shot.
That's great.
So
that's so fabulous, because you are so funny. And I don't know, you have something special, and it's hard to put a label or, encapsulate what I'm talking about. But when she's on stage, you guys, she knows you're in the audience. You feel that she's with you and she connects with you like nobody else. And she can go from her material to what's going on with you in the room, right back to her. I just love your comedy.
Thank you. Thank you. I had some issues early on with my material because I have a lot of women's material. And of course, I did a lot of firehouses. I'm the queen of the Elks clubs. If anybody knows, there's always a picture of me under an elk. Okay. I think I shot a gun twice in my life. And I work for a gun club. So, but I would do my material, and the women would love it, and their daughters and the guy's wife. But then the firemen would come over to me, the men, and they'd be like, I know everybody with me, thought you were funny, but I just don't see it. Like that guy in Boston, he goes, I just don't see it. And I thought to myself, I got to do something because I can't get to the guys. And now I play with them. Okay. Not literally, figuratively, almost literally though. I'll play with the guys. Like I'll go right out there up to a guy and I'll make one guy the star of the show, because them, they're big egomaniacs. They love that stuff. So I'm doing a conference Zoom. It's a professional organization, and it's a lot of guys in this organization. And I call up the guy running, and I go, tell me about the guys. Give me the scoop on the guys, because even though I'm not in person, it's harder on Zoom. But I really do love to play with the men now. I play with them and I'm fearless. But I had to learn, because you got to remember that comedy is universal. You just can't go out there with women material when the men is half in the audience. You got to give them their due. So, how we say, oh, you should always have a woman in the audience. Maybe that's why. Maybe bookers feel like, well, they don't have any universal, comedy. But it shouldn't be that it's a woman. It should just be that it's a funny person.
Yes. I was having trouble in Portland, Oregon, the young crowd. I was having trouble getting them to listen to me because of the age of my material. And so I went out when I was in New York, I was living in Philly. I've lived in New York 3 times in my life, in the 90s, then with George Saltz, and then also at Paul Lyons in Philadelphia. And so when I was living there, the last time, I went out on the streets of Philadelphia and I talked to young people, and I said, look at me. What do you see when you look at me? Say I was on stage right now.
That was very smart.
And then I asked them, an older person on stage doing comedy, what do you expect them to say? What do you want them to say? What don't you want? What should they never say? And man, that's how I developed my whole new act.
Yep. And they don't mind, like, if you play with them, like you tell them, no, you little shit. Like I've taken people on cell phones and I've taken their phone from them right in front of me. I'm like, you're ordering shoes during my act, you little piece of shit. Okay. Robin Fox, I think she said something one time. She goes, I have toothpaste older than you. You know what I mean? So you could play with them. Don't be afraid to play with them. But I kind of say to them, listen, I am the aunt. I am the craziest person in your family. that I'm going to come at you like them. So look at it like this. You could roll your eyes. You could do whatever the fuck you want, but I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And let's have fun. Let's have fun. So there's the respectful kind that listen. Like yesterday, half my audience was young girls. And I said to them, listen, you got the world by the balls, but then you're going to turn into this. And they laughed, and I'm like, this is what it's going to be. You're going to get up. And I asked the bride, what's the one thing about your husband to be that you love? And she says, he's such a nice man. I go, that'll piss you off later in life. You'll stab him because of that, so you gotta, like, it's so hard because what we do is we see age and we see like men and women, we see, young and old, and we see black and white. And you know what I've done like Harlem shows where I was the only white comedian with 4 of the black comics. You know what? I just see people. Like, I forget all the labels and I see people, and I know that laughter is healing. And if someone could come up to me at the end of the night and say, you healed me, you made me laugh, it was funny, I got a kick out of you, then you know what? It's never, ever a lost evening.
Yes, absolutely. So you started doing comedy after the holidays when you cut out pictures of people's heads out of the Sears or the Spiegel magazines, and you would do comedy to these pictures on the wall, right?
And I would use a brush. That was my microphone. We didn't have the round brushes then. They weren't invented. So it was just a square brush. And I'd be like, da, 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 da. My mother's like, say, she'd call up her sister. She'd be like, Jeannie, this kid she's gonna kill me. And she's got faces on the wall. Like, I think they thought, even though she made me watch Johnny Carson with her every night, she didn't think, well, listen, she's gonna be a comedian. She just thought, my God, how am I gonna, this kid's crazy. She's crazy out of her mind. Like, she should be out like on roller skates. And I did that too, but I really loved to entertain. I was always leading everybody on the block, parades. And I'm like, come on, we're going to march. Let's sing to the Osmonds. My friends are like, I like the Jackson 5. I go, no, we're going to cheer. We're going to do a cheer for the Osmonds. But I like Michael Jackson. No, you're going to cheer for Donnie. Like, I was like, I lost friends. Even I'm like, people are like, I can't take her. Like 8-year-old girls are like, nah, my cup of tea. So.
And now you have your own coffee talk in the morning.
And it's good because you know what, like I thought about doing it in advance and putting it on YouTube, but I guess the beauty of it is that it's live and people can just zoom in and talk about themselves too. So
yes.
So we'll see. I hope it stays. I hope it stays. I hope a lot of things that a lot of the beautiful new routines we've gotten now due to coronavirus and being in lockdown with the race riots, I hope it all helps us because Linda, this show is wonderful. And Sandy Talk is great. And what Robin Shaw does, Coffee Talk is great. And then Maureen Langen's got a podcast and Jane Condon's got a podcast and everybody's doing great things. I remember Mark Maron, when he went out to LA, he's like, there's no work for me. He just went into the garage and started a podcast, right? WTF, what WTF with Mark Maron, biggest show in the world now, okay, podcast wise. So we're on the road to doing something that's bigger than us right now.
Yes. Anytime that we can take people out of their pain.
Yep. And you're one of those people. So just keep up, Sinbad, baby. I want to be on with Sinbad myself. I want to hug Sinbad. He was Star Search, wasn't he? Wasn't Sinbad on Star Search?
Yes. And he, I was interviewing him and I knew he was an Army veteran, but I didn't know that he would be like, hi, how you doing? All right, okay. And like, I'm an Army person too. And he goes, and then he just took off. The minute he heard Army, he loves to talk about his military stuff.
He's a good man. And, I remember a little bit of trivia. I think it was Brad Garrett, who wound up opening up for Sinatra. He was on Star Search. And I believe, I don't know if it was Rosie O'Donnell. It might have been Rosie O'Donnell because Roseanne came before her. I think he lost to Rosie, Brad Garrett. I have to check my trivia there, but yeah. So I don't know if Sinbad was the host, but I just remember him being the host of that show. He was so fabulous, and people have seen his act. Have you seen his act yet? Or
yes,
yeah.
He's just like that. That's just the way he talks and thinks, and that's who he is. It's not an act.
Awesome. Or I'm telling you, I love it. That's the claim to fame. You bag Sinbad and then bag him in the way that, I would have bagged him, but
Oh my gosh. So talk to me. So you got Sandy Talk in the morning, every morning, 8:30 New York time.
right.
Us out here, you minus off 3 hours, enough with the time zones. And then you have a one-woman show, Sandy. Do you know I just have to come out and see your one? When is it going to be?
Well, for 10 years, I've been saying I'm working on this show. People don't even want to use it as a credit anymore, okay? Because there are parts of it, like it's not all hearts and flowers. And believe me, I mean, I didn't have this childhood where, I was raped by an uncle or anything like that. I don't have it. It's not grueling, but there's some parts of it that I was kind of like, I couldn't channel out. Like, I want to get it out, but I thought it would make some certain friends of mine uncomfortable because they only met me later in life. And ironically, through coronavirus and politically, those friends have kind of fallen by the wayside. And I realized they weren't really the friends I thought they'd be. So that gives me freedom. I think for some reason it happened for a reason that I'm free now to do the show and to talk about what I want to talk about. Because these friends of mine, they kind of put me in a box of what they think I should be. So if they came to my show, they would have been like, I kind of like her when she's funnier. I kind of like her when she's funny. People say that when they go to a one-woman show, but you know what? You have to go on that journey with that comic because that comic is working out their life on that stage. And that's important. And it's not all hearts and flowers. It's not. It's some poignant moments for that person to get to the point to where they are now, where they could heal. So that was holding me up for a long time. Carol Montgomery's helping me produce it, and she's telling me I'm blocked all the time. It's like I'm a constipated storyteller. But coronavirus has brought it out in me that I don't mind speaking now on the show. I've said some of the stories on the show now. I've talked about myself on some of these podcasts. I'm open now and I'm ready. But for 10 years, I lied. I'm working on my show, working on my show. Now it's going to come out. It's got to come out. It's coming out. It's like a cyst. It's going to burst at some point.
That's amazing. I can't wait for that.
Thank you.
I'm a huge fan of a one-woman show. Huge.
Thank
fan.
you. Thank you.
I'll be there to get tickets. I'll take the train all the way there.
And you know what? When I'm prepping for it, what I learned to do is I started to watch. I think Jane Condon told me this. She told me to watch The Moth, the stories, the Moth has a story series. And I watched stories like Rachel Feinstein told a story, and another story came from what was his name? He passed away. He had a story about his wife, Franny's final ride, and just beautiful, heartfelt, like really amazing. Ophelia Eisenberg had a story. Beautiful stories. You're watching them. They go to the Moth when the Moth was open, and they would tell these stories, and the Moth would put it on tape, and it's out there in the series.
Wow, I'll have to go look at that.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's so many tips that, like doing this and having guests on are teaching me so much.
Thank you.
Sometimes I feel so selfish that I'm receiving so much, but other people are getting it too. So.
But I'm glad you're open to it. And like I said, you've really been, I've watched you through the years. I mean, and you've just gotten, every time I see you, you're just better and better and better. And what more could you ask for? And you're beautiful. And I don't mean that in the Rosie O'Donnell way. You know what I mean? I'm strictly dickly. Strictly dickly.
Huh?
What?
Rosie
Strictly dickly. Yeah, Rosie, right? But strictly dickly, every time I kid around, I say, I'm strictly dickly. That was a line by Rosie Perez. She's like, I'm a strictly dickly. I don't like women, when she was out there. But I always kid around. I say, I'm strictly dickly. Oh, that's funny. I go, it's Rosie Perez. I don't say it on stage because it's hers, but it's funny. I'm strictly dickly, but you are beautiful.
Thank you so much. What is it that you want to, like, you have your one-woman show that's going to be coming out, because now you got Carol Montgomery behind you producing it. and because she's done women of a certain age and more women of a certain age, more fun
Yep.
women of a certain. So now that you've got power behind you and you got motivated and you got people out of your life that were trying to put a damper on your voice, what is the main thing besides your one woman show and your morning Sandy talk that you want to accomplish? If you could only accomplish one more thing the rest of your life, what would it be in the biz?
Well, I'd like to put a book out there of some stuff, I'd like to get something out there like tangible that you could buy, that it's there. It's Sandy Talk for you to keep. And then, like the order was going to be like ongoing would be the show, and the order would have been the book. And then I look at some of these people like Vicky Cooperman. I think she wrote like 3 books. Al Martin just wrote a book. I mean, but again, we're talking people that have just a lot more to say than I do, but it's not that hard. You just got to focus. And I guess for me, working full time has always been, you're working 50 hours a week as a CFO. How could I, no matter which way I turn, people always look at me like it's got to be a hobby, but it's not. I get up there, I hold my own with everybody else that's doing it full time, but I'd like to get a book out there. I'd like to get, listen, are we going to go and get sitcoms? No, we're not. We're not going to be Ellen DeGeneres. We might not be, Roseanne Barr, or, Rosie O'Donnell, but we can be actresses. Like well, I could have a career not like Doris Roberts, but you know what? I could be somebody's fat Italian mother in a sitcom. And what makes me so proud is there's a lot of great filmmakers in New York, and I'm going to call them out: Stone and Stone. Okay, the Stone brothers, Adam and Todd Stone, and there's Eric Alexander. Okay, my friend Guz. Okay, she did Surprisingly Complicated, and she did this web series that I was in. Eric calls me for parts, and so does Adam Adam and Todd Stone. So as long as I'm in touch with these guys that know my character and can write parts specifically for me, there's going to come something, because these guys are destined for greatness. These 2 guys and this 1 woman, fabulous producers and storytellers that are writing stories. So yeah, I guess you got to say yes to everything, Linda. That's the answer. You got to be out there and say, I took the acting. I can't go out for gigs right now, but if I retire at 62, I'm going to be sitting in those rooms auditioning. Absolutely.
Wonderful. That's amazing. So in the business, people have reached out to help you with your comedy. I'd like to know, you don't even have to say a name if you don't want to, but I'd like to know somebody in the business that we would know that's been kind to you besides Gladys Simon, because we adore her, but somebody other than that, and somebody that a moment where you got to a point where you could reach around and help somebody else.
Well, you know what? One of the people, honestly, when I first started out, because, we all had to do bringer shows, whether we liked it or not. We had to fill that room. And my friends were coming from Jersey. And because their kids were small when I started doing comedy, they couldn't make it sometimes. And one person that always gave me, even if she gave me the last spot on the show and didn't throw me out if my friends didn't make it in, was Jessica Curson. And Jessica really helped me out as far as like, because I remember sitting on the curb, like of Don't Tell Mama, and then they're like, you can't go on, your friends can't make it. And literally there were 5 of them in a car and the car got a flat, so that's the nightmare of when you first start, and you have to do those bringer shows. People say, I didn't do it. I always knew who I was, and I can't. You know what? We had to be a hooer for it, because guess what? The times were changing, and we wanted a good tape so we can get back out there. So yeah, we brought and we barked and we sold and we were tramps. Okay. But Jessica helped me out. Poppy Kramer, God rest her, may she rest in peace, over at the Duplex, always gave me spots every Wednesday. Okay. John Morrison at the Morrison Hotel helped me out. Tremendously, like Bob Greenberg, Nancy Lombardo. When I joined the Friars Club, they helped me out a lot. There were always people. Al Martin is like a mentor to me. He's always, hey kid, anytime you need spots. And he's my neighbor and my friend now, and I would sit with Al. I'd have dinner with him, and I don't even ask him for a spot, because I just like him so much. Him and his wife, Carolyn, and his family. Okay. Dina is like I know Dina for 17 years, so she's like my sister, my little kid sister. So many people, so many, that you feel like if you don't mention everybody. Eric Hansen, helped me out, so many, like Jeff the fat rat bastard who passed away this during COVID, not from COVID, but he was helpful. The guys in Philly, Joey Callahan, Grover Silcox. I got introduced to all these guys out there. Chris Rich, Robin Fox. There's tons of them. Maureen Langan and Jane Condon is like my sister in comedy. She's like she was my sponsor at the Friars Club. Okay, so she's helped me out. Joy Behar, I have to give it to her, because when I did meet her, she wasn't overly like hugging kissy like I am, but she was very kind and generous with her information and the stuff she taught me about. She's like, look, you're no spring chicken. You got to keep moving. Don't hurt anybody, but you don't need to have time to make a whole lot of friends, so just keep it superficial and keep going. You might not be part of a clique. You're too old. Okay. And she told me you're too old to play games. So, and early on, my teachers were Dave LaBarca, who was fabulous. When I did The View. And then I moved over to Tommy Koenig, and he brought me to another level. And then I took acting class with Joanna Bexon. I took commercial class with Nadat Stasia. I took any kind of improv 2, so everybody like that I met that was positive was an influence. There were just so many. I can't, like, I feel bad now if somebody's listening, they go, why didn't she mention me? But there was so many people that gave me spots all the time. And now the poets what I did towards the end was I started going to poetry rooms, because I didn't want to be with the other comedians, because they annoyed me, the younger kids coming out, because they had no patience. So I would do a poetry room. I do poetry slam uptown. I get 25 minutes, and then all the poets would come up to you. You're funny. Now, if a poet thinks you're funny, I thought, So yeah, everybody. The answer really is everybody.
That's a beautiful statement right there. Have you done music, open mics?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my gigs that I'm the most proud of is I got a gig through this girl, Roxanne Hoffman. She's like the head of all the poetry people, and she lives in Hoboken, New Jersey. And Roxanne asked me to be a host of it was a music and poetry thing that we're doing at the back fence, when the back fence was there on Bleecker Street. So every Sunday from 12 to 3, I got a tremendous amount of stage time being the host of this show. And the problem was, when I'd ask my comic friends to do it, that a guy like Angry Bob would get up there and he'd curse, and I would get thrown out of the gig. But so I had to worry, but this was my gig. I used to work Sundays to catch up, because I was new at my job. So I needed to work 50 hours, and I worked 40 during the week and 10 on Sunday. I would work, leave, go up the street to Bleecker, because I work on McDougal. Go up the street to Bleecker, do my set for 3 hours, work another 2 hours, and go home. That gig brought me to another level. And it was all musicians most times, and some poets, but I have a piano here, little like piano that I bought, like it's kind of little, like an organ thing. But imagine I finally got to see an organ, and it's in a piano. But I have to learn it, because I would love to learn some music myself. I have a video out there with the cups. I got, the menopause song. I try to play stuff, but the music people are nice. They're weird, but they're nice.
Yeah, it's fun because, like we comics get kind of tired of another comic. And when you see a musician come up, a comic with a guitar, for instance, it's such a nice break.
Well, you want to go to an audience that's not your audience, right? We all know comics don't listen. Like if you're in an open mic, they're not listening. They're worried about what they're going to say. Okay. They don't care about you. I'm sorry, but they don't. They're worried about what they're writing, what they have to say. You want to go to somebody that has no choice but to listen to the shit you have to say.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. So you've been in the business 17 years. So there's got to be times where you just cannot forget some young comic coming for help, or somebody you got to help. I've seen people in the business as long as you that have talked people off jumping off of a bridge. You know, like you've got to have those moments you'll never forget.
Well, yeah, you know, there's a lot of young comics out there now. Like if I do a show with them, you know, I'll tell them if you ever get stuck, just reach out to me. And they have, and I spoke to them. I wouldn't mention them by name, but I did try to help a lot of people and say to them, you know what? You know what? Just keep going. Just keep going, because I know when it was me, there was somebody that said that to me. It was many people that said it to me. So I have to lift my hand down and pick that person up and really make them feel special. Now, with that being said, there was a comic I did reach out that I helped a lot that was coming to me for advice that was struggling. But as the comic rose, I felt like the person got a little cocky, you know what I mean? So I kind of cut off the communication because I saw that comic was kind of like rubbing a lot of other people the wrong way. And I was, no matter what I was saying to them, I don't think they were getting it, which you don't have to listen to me specifically, but we got to have the right mindset going in that, you know, you have to respect everybody that's come before you. And I felt like some of their posts on Facebook and stuff didn't respect people prior. And I said, you know what? I gotta, you know, and I kind of cut the cord with that. I mean, hello, goodbye, but, and the person's doing well, and very young and doing well. But at the end of the day, you know, be a nice person too. Like, let me tell me that you're a nice person, you know? But so many people, so many boys and girls, you know, I got to tell you this real quick. We just posted recently, I posted that we had a show in 2011 and it was Regina DeChico, who's now she's the at the View. She's the, what do you call it in the audience? She's the what's the word? Why can't I think of it?
She's the warm-up person.
She's the warm-up for the View, Regina, right? It was Regina, myself, Robin Fox, Chris Cochia from Philly area, and then Pete Davidson was on the show. And I remember seeing young Pete Davidson and going up to him and going, oh my God, how long you doing this? He was doing it a few years, you know, because Pete wasn't out there long. And then he was, and we took a picture under something and I had his face in my hands because I had just met him and I thought he was adorable then. And I thought to myself, I posted, not the picture because I couldn't find it, but I posted the thing. I said, Robin, this was 2011 and we worked with Pete, young Pete. So you have to always be open to these new people. You have to, you know, do what people did for you, right? If you're in Vegas and somebody comes to Vegas and they're new and you see them, I'm sure, Linda, you're going to just raise a hand and pull them right up because you have that personality as well.
Yes, they're you know what? I don't understand why people are small-minded and jealous and afraid other people are going to get spots. Like, you know, the world is so freaking big, especially now with Zoom
and there's room for everybody. I mean, a lot of my stuff's very generic and you could say a lot of my jokes are parallel thinking with other people, but you know, you can't steal a joke. And then people say, but what if someone steals your joke? And I said, you know what? They could take my joke, but they'll never be able to do it like I do, right? They'll never have that touch that I do. You could take words, but you can't take a soul. You can't take the heart of someone. So I don't worry about stealing. I don't worry about sharing the spotlight. I don't worry. Yeah, we all look at Facebook like, how did that person get that gig? I can't believe she got that. We do that. That's human nature. But basically, I'm happy for everybody, and I feel that there's room for everybody to grow. Isn't there? I mean, you can't get caught up in this comparing yourselves. And when you look at some of the tragedies in comedies, it came from people that thought they should have gotten further than what they are getting, and they kind of wound up cutting the cord and winding up with less than what they started with.
Sometimes when people aren't trying to do their very best, then they're jealous of other people. But if you're really trying to be the best you that you can be, you don't have time to compete with other people.
You can't. And sometimes I try to understand that when people don't have the heart that I have, or if they seem like they're too self-absorbed, some of the younger generation or whatever, the millennials, you know, and stuff. It's because they're so overwhelmed with so much. They got so much on their phone that we never got. Like, right? I mean, not for anything. I should have been more of a bigger whore because we had nothing on tape, right? But they have everything here. They could lose a job for a post. I mean, so you know what? They have no vent. They don't know where to go, what to do. So sometimes they're inside themselves, and that's okay, you know. But for me, I would like to be a person of the world. I would like to be opened up and do the best I can. But there are going to be people, you know, here's that saying, right? Sometimes the grass is greener on the other side because it's astroturf. Right? Sometimes the grass is green on the, you know, you got this sobby, wet fucking grass, and then someone else has astroturf, and all they are is fake. So why would I compare myself to someone if I feel that they're not being authentic? And it's not my job to point that out. It's my job to be as authentic as I can be and be a standout and see what makes me shine, brand myself, keep my body of work so clean that when somebody goes back and says, well, you know, she was always nice to everybody. She was funny. She held her own. She gave back. You know what I mean? She was low maintenance. She never complained. She was always happy to do a gig. She never went over in her time on stage. Like, you know what? That's the craft. That's what you want. You want a clean record. You don't want this shit. Oh, there was that one time she went crazy and she broke a bottle over someone's head. No. This is your body of work, and it is all out there on media.
I love that. You're quite the person. You know, there's one person. Do you know Jack Hoffman?
I love Jack Hoffman.
Let's talk about him. He likes to stay in the background and not get, you know, a lot of accolades. This guy is holding down the comedy community single-handedly.
Well, you see, Jack worked, right? He had a great job and he retired. And later in life, or maybe all of his life, he must have realized he loves comedy and comedians. And what he did was he came into our comedy industry, right? And again, he was learning the biz, you know, learning the biz. And he called up and he entrusted people like my friend Chip Ambrosio and some other people, John McClellan and some other people that, you know, not John so much, you know, both of them really, but I know that we do a lot of shows together, me, Chip, John, and they're always with Jack, you know, and other women too. He's opened up the doors to so many comedians and given them the stage time they deserve. He gives them the pay they deserve, and he gives them the accolades they deserve. And his wife is lovely. His family's lovely. He's normal. You know, again, not many people in comedy are normal, Linda. They're not normal, you know. So that's why I say, like, I have a friend like Al Moore, and he's a normal guy with a normal life. I have a friend in Jack Hoffman, normal person. Gladys is normal. Not many people are normal. People are crazy. You know, when you're doing this all this time, like, you know, you have a really brash skin. But Jack, you see him, he's like a burly guy, and he's just such a softie, I can't say enough of really great words about him. And what he does is he sponsors all these podcasts. He, you know, we'll go to comedian breakfast. One of the last breakfasts I had with Jeff Parami and those guys, it was on my birthday. He paid for breakfast. He just is too kind. He's too kind. And I'm glad there's a place for him with us because he's one of the good guys.
He is. I know that for a fact that he was putting on the 76 house scenario when I was up at George Saltz's, and he had the whole thing all booked and everybody was told their pay. And then he put in an incentive that if it went above a certain number of people that came, they got even more.
Yep, and he didn't hound you to get the people, but if you got the people, he gave you extra money, which was great. And you know what? I have to spotlight here my friend Chip Ambrosio also, who is like, I do so many shows with Chip, and Chip really has helped lift me up as well, you know, and Chip and Jack do some stuff together. And he, you know, Chip can't, he says, I don't go into business or deal with people unless I really think they're on the money. And he says, and Jack is just a stand-up guy. So Chip and him do stuff together, like business deals, and they're wonderful. They're both wonderful. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Jack's company, you know, his productions, J. Irwin Productions.
J. Irwin Productions. I knew that you had an affinity in your heart towards the same things of Jack, so I figured you had to know him. And I wanted to interview him, but he's not Mr. Limelight. He's more
No,
like,
I was one of the first people he met, and I don't know how, but we've spent a lot of time together, and he has grown to be such a student of comedy now, and he loves to talk comedy, and we talk hours sometimes when we get on the phone, and then I got to remember he's got a family and stuff out there, he's got his wife, but what a great person, and he just, again, later in life, second act, he gets out there, he goes, I'm going to do this. And he came to New York area. He made it his own. And in Jersey, he's booking these venues. He's getting them. He's getting the top notch. And I'm another person, like he'll call me, like I laugh sometimes. And my friend Mark Feinstein too, they'll call me up and they'll say, tell me about this comedian. Tell me about that comedian. What do you think about this comedian? I never feel like, oh my God, why are they asking me about other comedians and not booking me? I will give them, because I know I've either done the show or they don't think it's a venue for me. I trust their judgment. And then I'll tell them what I know about comedians, like what I've heard or what I think. So yeah, you know what? Don't fuck with me because I'm a good reference. All right. That's what I'm saying. Like I could reference you. If I have a couple of bad incidences, I'm going to tell Jack Hoffman or my friend Mark Feinstein. So you know what? Do right by me, people.
yes, treat her right, guys. Don't
Yeah.
overlook her.
Yeah.
She's a she's a major player. And I mean
Even
that
if
in,
it's with myself.
what's that?
Even if it's with myself.
I love your show in the morning. Sandy Talk, Monday through Friday, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 on the West Coast, something in the middle. And then I can't wait. Do you have like any kind of timeline where you think your one woman show, Brassy, Sassy, Gassy, will be out?
Well, you know what? It might be if it's the first part of 2021 and things don't open up, because right now comedy clubs are up there with friggin' strip clubs, which I don't understand. But it could be a Zoom thing at this point, because maybe that might be more comfortable for me to start off with. I've spoken about that with Carol. So we'll see. We'll see. And like I said, she's so busy. The fact that she gave me any time with what she's doing. And I every once a week I call her and I go, thank you for bringing women in comedy to the forefront. Thank you for bringing women of comedy to the forefront. What she did for women single-handedly, she went out there in her brassiness and she kind of took all her friends and she spotlighted them. She's always going to be my heart for that. So
Always. So Carol Montgomery, you guys, she does funny women of a certain age and more funny women of a certain age. It's been on Showtime. It's been written up everywhere. It's been around the country. It's going to continue.
And not even that I was even a blip on that to even be considered, because guess what? I was doing it at the time 15 years, right? 16. These women were doing it 30. They were doing it 40. They've been out there. So you know what? I'm a baby. I'm a baby compared to like a Vanessa Hollingshead. I'm a baby, compared to like a Carol Leifer. I'm a baby compared to Carol Montgomery, not in age, but in just in when you look at the comedy resume of the things that she's done. So I'm proud of her. And I had to get someone that I really admire and as a mentor, and she's one of them. So I'm hoping to do more great things with her.
I adore her, and I adore her for the things we've mentioned. Plus, a huge plus in my book, she's done all these military tours. Like 17 of them or some crazy number.
She always gives back. And again, wonderful family, great husband, wonderful son. She's a family person and she's not crazy. So like I said, when she had, like, sometimes when you're dealing with somebody, they got to have like a home base. Like I can't say I have a great family life. I'm not really close to my family, like cousins and stuff, but I never had that. It's one thing I'm never going to have, but I have a sense of like, base. So when you're dealing with people in comedy, you have to understand, do they have a sense of base? Do they sleep every day till 5? Do they get up at 8 like they have a business? Because, you know, sometimes comedians, that's the way they roll, you know? So you can't have somebody managing you if your day's done at 5 and they're waking up at 5.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Absolutely. You've been so great to interview. Is there any, you can have 5 minutes to say anything you want. If take up to 5 minutes, I'll just sit here and watch.
well, I don't have anything else to say except that I'm hoping to get to another level of comedy soon. I'm hoping to do all the things I said. Now that it's on tape, maybe get my ass in gear. I'm hoping to still make a difference with the Sandy Talk show, although I don't think I could do it 5 days, maybe 2 or 3 days. I'm hoping to get the YouTube channel going. I'm learning Boomerang. I'm learning, you know, so many things, TikTok, this, that, you know, anything to keep myself relevant, you know, because I think every day we have to do something to remind people why we're here.
Yes, absolutely. If you were to encapsulate, what is your message? Your comedy relays what to people?
I think the message is just basically that, you know, we're all human and we all have, it's okay to be angry and it's okay to tell somebody to fuck off. And it's absolutely fine that if you get on your broom and you go home, okay? You know, normal is just a setting on the washer dryer, okay?
Wow.
It's not who we are. And as long as we could tap into the fact that everybody's journey is different, everybody, when you go to see a comedian, you're on the journey with them. You can't sit there and say, this is what I want them to say. It just doesn't work like that. They're going to say something to piss you off, and that's okay. That is okay. You could be on the edge. You could say something that's uncomfortable. And you know me, Linda. Someone could say to me, I like those pants. You know what? I just bought these again because I had a pair just like it, but I shit in them. It's okay. It's okay. Okay. Somebody could be so uncomfortable with that, but I'm not. It's fine. I don't get invited to dinner parties. Okay. So yeah, you just be you. You know, the world will adjust. My mantra would probably be, and it's not mine, just be you. The world will adjust. That doesn't give you license to be, you know, like to kill, but to be yourself. Just be who you are. And you know who you are. You know, when you do something that really lights up your soul the most, that's who you are.
Exactly. Awesome. You are the best. Thank you so much for coming on here.
I can't wait to take this bra off.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much, Sandy. You're the best. Thank you.
Linda, I love you.
Love you.
All right. So you're going to post this. I'll put it on the wall and people can hear me talk for another hour. They listen 2 minutes. They're like, oh, we're listening to her Sandy talk. It's too much. She doesn't shut up. My friends are like, ah. Then they're going to call me. Who's the friend you lost? Is it me? I'm like, if you're calling me, it probably is.
So I'll go on here and I'll put all my afterthoughts about this interview and I'll tag you in it so that it'll go on your page. But if it doesn't show up on your page, just click share.
You got it.
Okay.
I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm so sorry we didn't do it up until this point.
No
This
problem.
was a fabulous time to spend and have coffee with you, my dear. And I wish you a lot of love. When you come back to the city, please let me know.
I will. I can't wait to see your one-woman show. I want to buy the first ticket. I don't want anyone getting a ticket before me.
You'll be in there. I'll get you a comp, okay? I know the producer.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you, Sandy. Love you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.